You're listening to the Cricket Podcast.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Cricket Podcast, where we will be catching you up with the last 5 matches in the IPL. We've got action featuring Travis Head, MS Dhoni, Virat Kohli, controversy, and a bunch more. Plus a double helping on this show of the Punjab Kings. What more could you want? I'm Jack Hope. I'm joined by Max Rowe-Brown. How you doing, Max?
Hello. I'm alive, so that's good. I made it back from my stag do in one piece, just about, and back to cricket.
Yeah, we did try and kill him, but we were unsuccessful. Ross, how are you doing?
I'm a bit bleary-eyed, but nothing like the IPL to warm the cockles. So looking forward to talking about it.
Fair enough. Cool. Before we get going, just a reminder to make sure you click like and subscribe. 2/3 of people who listen to this podcast aren't subscribed, and that's a shame. So I'm speaking to most of our audience here when I say click that button on whichever platform you're listening on. This show is also presented by Serious Cricket and Manscaped. There are links to both of those in the show notes, and we'll be talking about them a little bit more later on in the podcast. Which order do we do? Should we do? Let's do part 1 of the Punjab double helping now, the game that just finished.
Mm-hmm.
Max, would you like to very quickly talk us through the action? And bear in mind, obviously, that we've got to get through loads of games, so be really speedy.
Yes, so Punjab batting first, switched things up again. It was Curran and Prabhsimran Singh opening today. They got off to a fairly good start, and then it all ground to a halt when the spinners came on. I think you should give some credit to Captain Shubman Gill for realising that pace-off was the way to go and front-loading all the spinners. Pretty much ended Punjab's innings before it got started, and 142 was all they managed. There were some wobbles along the way. Livingston took a couple of wickets, and they had to get a bit of a move on at the end, but ultimately the finisher, Iceman Rahul Tewatia, saw them home pretty comfortably. It was 3-wicket win in the final over, but it wasn't really in much doubt by the end.
Yep, that's a good summary. Chattel has said in the chat, anyone putting Gujarat Titans v Punjab on as the Sunday night action is a moron, and it's a little bit difficult to disagree with that, to be perfectly honest. This isn't an IPL classic, this particular contest, and Gujarat, Ross, they kind of did what they needed to do to put away a pretty disorganised Punjab side.
Yeah, and I think this is where you can see that how to double down on your strengths. Bringing in Sai Kishore here, playing Noor Ahmed, and Rashid Khan was always going to be a bit much for this Punjab Kings lineup, who don't have the best of records against spin bowling anyway. So I think this was relatively clinical from the former champions, and I think that it's a much needed win for them. But Punjab Kings, if you're a Punjab's fan, it must be horrible. It must be absolutely horrible to follow this team. They must be like blood boiling, infuriating, because they just waver so much in terms of the level of quality, and you're just like, how could you bring some organisation to this chaos? I don't know.
And even when they are good, they find a way of blowing it.
Yes, yeah, that's the tragedy of Punjab. Really, is that even when they are good, they find a way to blow it. It's 4 defeats in a row for Punjab. Max, in this game, and we'll have to talk about we'll talk about their game against Mumbai maybe a little bit later in the show, but they picked a similar team. We went through the top 7, I think it was, and looked at their balls per dismissal, and the team averaged 17 balls per dismissal, basically, like all the batters added together, which is about 5 runs below the IPL average for a top 7 batter. Not 5 runs below, 5 balls below. So they're getting out all the time. It's kind of hard to see how they avoid collapsing like this on a regular basis, isn't it? With that in mind.
Yeah, it's. I mean, even when they have done well, they've pretty much been indebted to rearguard actions from Shashank Singh and Ashutosh Sharma, which probably weren't the 2 leading lights of the Punjab batting lineup that you'd have anticipated prior to the tournament kicking off anyway. So, you've got something that's probably the parts that make it up aren't that great anyway, and some of the parts that are supposed to be good are failing, and it's all ends up in a bit of a mess. And not only does the top 7 not really inspire comments, they've got they've got some people who can bat a bit, like Harpreet Brar, for example. Like Kahisa Rabada coming in at 11 is not the world's worst number 11 by any stretch of the imagination, but it's still just sort of, that sort of number 8 position down doesn't really give you much backup if things go wrong. So on the one hand, you've got something that's set up to fail, and then not really much of a get out of jail free card. It's it's a problem, which is because it's a shame because their bowling's quite good. I think we've spoken about it. I think Harshal Patel and Sam Curran are both in like the top 5 of the wicket takers this year. But if you can't score any runs, it's irrelevant basically.
Ross, Sam Curran, let's talk about him quickly. He's quietly having an okay season for Punjab. How do you rate his move, installed as temporary captain with Darwan out, to immediately promote himself to opening the batting? Like on a scale of 1 to 10, what do you think of that?
No, I think I think he's probably gone, well, I'm replacing Darwan anyway, so I might as well fill his slot. That must just be the thinking, like, oh, he was the opening batsman, so I'm going to have to do this now. I think that's fine. I think all the power that sits in Sam Curran's hands should be abused, and I think that I think it's great to see, and he's also, I wouldn't say he looks the best as an opening batsman. I'm not really sure what he's trying to achieve there. I think his role at the start of the tournament, where he won them that game, was actually a little bit more clear. Here again, it's just almost like they've got a jigsaw puzzle at the start of every game, and they literally just throw it on the floor, and they literally just go, right, these are the bits that we're going to use today. Brilliant, and that's kind of how they're approaching it. It just seems a little bit like Trevor Bayliss and the brains trust at Punjab Kings isn't quite working.
Yeah, I think that's probably fair to say. Max, so to round off on this game, would you like to say anything nice about Gujarat? They did some good things, didn't they?
Yeah,
Liam Livingstone and nearly got in a fight with their captain.
Yes, that was a hell of a send-off.
Happened.
All a bit odd. No, I think it's just the spin contingent was really, really good today. Rashid Khan and Noor Ahmed got things going, and they basically didn't miss a trick. They were hitting a good length consistently, great variations, and they basically, Punjab didn't have an answer to them. They were too good for them. And Sai Kishore, it's always nice to see him get a go, and he rolled out and rocked up with 4 wickets. So more evidence for him maybe playing some more. But yeah, I think it was a good move from Shubman Gill to sort of get Mohit in on the power play. You don't see it very often, but it worked. It got the breakthrough after Punjab's decent start with a bit of pace off, and then the spinners came in and did the thing, and it was a very very competent and professional fielding performance, I think. Apart from a couple of times where Sai Kishore did just dive over the ball in the field randomly, but
they're glad that he played, though. Like, he's
Yes.
a seriously good talent, and the fact that he pretty much spends the majority of the time warming the bench for this Gujarat team is painful, I think, as a Sai Kishore fan. And he's also got good hair.
He does have good. There is
It's
some
a good
competition on
year
hair.
for hair in the IPL this year.
Yeah, it's by far the best year for hair the IPL's ever seen. I would say. Someone in the chat says, "Talk about Livingston, lads." I don't know what we want to talk about. He bowled quite well.
Yep.
He was
very
definitely
well.
fired up, wasn't he? He was definitely
Yeah.
fired up. Like, there was a lot of emotion on going on there.
Well, it's got to be frustration, isn't it? Like, you're just in this team that's falling apart around you. You're also falling apart with the bat. So, I guess a bit of release.
Yeah, well, I thought he bowled really well, though. I thought that it was quite effective and perfect, but it's just bloody frustrating, this Punjab Kings team. And they're now what are they, 6-2 or 2-6?
Yeah, well, 2 and 6. Yeah,
yeah. That is a long road back. I think.
Yeah,
the season is going to be piltering.
Yeah, I mean, like, sadly for them, they haven't actually played as bad as that record. They probably should have won at least one more match, but they're Punjab Kings, so that would never happen. And they're basically out of the tournament. So see you later, Punjab. As we talk about this morning's game, because a lot went on in that one, didn't it, Max?
it did. KKR once again scored over 200, 222. Double Nelson, very nice, pleasing for the number fans. Phil Salt 48 off 18 to get things going, just falling short of an extremely rapid 50. And they slowed down a bit, but after that, towards the end, was the usual business, really. Rinku Singh getting going, some blows from Andre Russell and Ramandeep Singh at the end, 24 off 9, 222, 6. Probably didn't back RCB to chase it, especially after they lost 2 early wickets. But Will Jacks, turns out he's good at cricket. He scored a 50. Rajat Patidar also scored a 50. And they were actually going pretty good guns. Like, they were looking fairly comfortable then. Lost a couple of wickets, and it was perhaps a little bit too much for them. And then out of nowhere, Mitchell Starc defending, 21 off the final over, and Khan Sharma comes in and scores 20 off 7 balls, which shouldn't be happening in any world, but did. And then with needing three to win off the last 3 balls, was it, or 3 to win off the last 2 balls, and they conspired to fail to do that, having gone from cruising-ish to out of the game and then back in it, and basically like one more thing to do, and fell in a heap and tripped over their own shoelaces trying to cross the line. It's just like it's vintage RCB.
It was
2 of them.
It
RCB
was.
and Punjab Kings today were at their finest.
They we got a full display of RCB's talents, and we got a full display of KKR's talents as well, Ross. Best team won. I think we can agree on that. What else did we learn?
We learned that Mitchell Starc really winds a lot of fans up, which is really quite good, because there was a lot of chatter because he was getting tonked by Khan Sharma. Khan Sharma is around that they spent so much money on him that he should have to give the money back because he's not performing very well. So, which I find is just quite interesting.
That's not really how being paid a wage works, is it?
Yeah. So there was a lot of anger just around that. And I was just like, you just won a game of cricket. Like, just get, like, who cares? Like, Mitchell Starc ultimately has done his job, right? At the end of the day.
He was asked to defend 21 off the final over, and he did it.
And he's literally done it. And so I always find it a bit strange. But my favourite thing about this Knight Riders team is just that their lineup is brilliant. It's really, really fun to watch. And it was nice today to see Shreyas Iyer actually show a bit more intent than his strike rate of about 80 that he's had throughout this tournament so far. But they're just quite fun, and they are quite modern, which I think is just kind of Navneet's just nailed it in the chat. They are just quite a modern batting lineup. They do have a good mixture of right and left-handed batsmen. They've got an awful lot of like clarity when it comes to their batting plan. Like what they've done with Narain this year is spectacular, but to put him with Phil Salt, Phil Salt is brilliant. He's absolutely brilliant. And Delhi fans who are listening to this must be sitting there going, why the hell have we got Shai Hope and they've got Phil Salt when we had him? Just doesn't make any sense. So, and big old Dre Russ continues to...
Dre Russ.
Yeah, he continues to... Well, he's looking a little bit leaner, and they're getting the overs out of him. And he's great coming in at the end, as we all know. But yeah, this team is really, really spectacular, if I'm perfectly honest. Whilst RCB, they lose by 1 run. It's a really good effort to kind of get that close, but then to kind of bottle it getting over the line is, not it's not surprising, is it? If you're an RCB fan, you're just like, oh shit, here we go again.
Yeah, it was a bit like that. I mean, when Will Jacks is out, they're 137 for 3, and they've got 9 overs left to get 84 runs, 85 runs.
I mean, that should be a walk in the park.
Should be doing that quite regularly, especially on that pitch and with those boundaries. Like it's a ground you can score heavily at. To kind of lose
a bit brainless.
So easily.
It was just brainless, wasn't it? Like the Sunil Narain's wickets, like they literally, they all had to do. And I know it seems great, but you don't want to say, oh, just see him out to see him out. But there is a risk factor there. But if you get through that and don't throw your wickets away like they did, they are well within the driving seat. And again, it just comes down to kind of these, I don't know, mind freezes.
Game management, isn't it?
Yeah, really, really
brain
poor
fades.
today. Brain fades.
We probably should talk about Kohli. He started really well. 16 or 7 balls. He'd hit a couple of sixes. A no-look 6 over mid-wicket. That's a spectacular shot.
Trademark.
Looked like it was on. And then Harshit Rana beams him, and the umpire gives it out. Caught. They check it, and the beamer is confirmed to have been a legal delivery. It's caused a little bit of outrage. Kohli had a big argument with the third official or the fourth official, whoever it is, near the team dugout at the end of the game. He also gave Gautam Gambhir a hug, if you're following along with that plot line. Max, no ball or not no ball?
I think it's something I noticed when they started using Hawkeye for this no ball business is that everything that, to my eyes, I thought was a no ball was now not. Like basically, like the waist appears to be higher than it seems to be when you look at it from side on. So, they've got this thing in where they measure they measure the actual waist height of someone standing up in the crease before the game, and they've got tracking technology that tells you how high it's going to be. It's like as far as I'm concerned, the way they've implemented it, it's not really massively different from like having an LBW DRS call. So like if they've drawn set out the lines where they are and it's past it, then it's not a no ball. But like to the eye, it doesn't look right, does it? It looks off. So I feel like that's possibly where the issue is. Maybe they've maybe actually like it should be a bit lower than it is, or like I think it's supposed to be in like your stance, isn't it? Like, is it standing upright in the crease or in your batting stance? Because you are usually a little bit crouched when you bat. So then if they're measuring the full waist height, that's going to be higher than it should be. And then obviously there's the fact that Kohli was sort of quite a bit out of his crease, which adds to the dramatic look of it in terms of the eye test. But I think, I'm surprised with how some of the calls have gone now since they've brought in Hawkeye. Because it looks off visually to me.
Yeah, it does look off. That was a well-considered and thoughtful answer, Max, but it wasn't the controversy.
Wasn't what you wanted.
Clippable content.
It's an absolute disgrace.
Drives this podcast. Yes, that's more like it. So I think what the problem is people don't know where the waist is, and I would include myself in that. I don't really know where the waist is. I think it's supposed to be somewhere around your belly button.
Yeah. So like we think
not your belt line.
And you think it's the waistband, isn't it, on your trousers? But it's higher than that.
Belt line. Yeah. But it's not that. And
because in theory you could just pull your trousers up, couldn't you? Like some of those things.
You'd wear them down really low.
You want those ones where they're around your ass. That's what you need.
Yes. You'd want to look like a rock guitarist from the early 2000s.
All right there, Dad. A rock guitarist.
A rock guitarist. Have you ever heard of this rock music?
Listen up, devil's kid. Work.
I don't know. I instinctively, Ross, I thought that should have been a no ball. I think if you're kind of fending the ball off your ribs, it's dangerous. It's a dangerous delivery. It should be a no ball.
I'd be absolutely livid. Like I would have definitely done what Kohli did. Like he stormed off. He called the umpire a sister fucker and like threw his bat and all this kind of stuff. So yeah, that's
did.
You've ruined my weekend. Why'd you bother?
Yeah, exactly. So when I'm completely on Kohli's side on this one, I'd have been absolutely fuming. I think ultimately I'd be livid and I would have destroyed that changing room as well. So all the power to Kohli.
Fair enough. Last thing to say, and Ross, you did touch on this a little bit. Mitchell Starc's having a shocker of a season, Max. Do KKR, do they need to drop him?
They're winning. So like I would probably stick, it's not like it's costing them games, right? And I think you can expect him to come good. Like he's got he's got an absolutely ferocious spell in him that will break a game open at the start. So it feels like you've got something like that in your locker. You don't really want to put it away. But I mean, we're gonna have to start having the conversation, aren't we? Because going at 55 off 3 overs is an abomination. And he got absolutely taken down against SRH on like the opening weekend when basically SRH should have won that game and also tripped over their shoelaces. There's something that KKR just like leaving banana peels out around when they're taking teams on, because it's happened more than once now that they basically should have lost a game and the other team has choked it. So I think perhaps a little bit lucky with some of those situations. But yeah, I mean, I'd probably stick with him for another couple of games. But yeah, if it keeps happening, you do at some point just be right. Yeah, no, this needs to stop because they have they've got options, I suppose.
He's got an economy rate of 11.5 this year, Ross. Taking a wicket, or his
bad.
bowling average rather, it's 48. They're not inspiring numbers, are they?
No, but
we're in the Yash Dial ballpark here.
But at the same time, like when a team's winning, like I think he's played well on what was it LSG when he took 3 for.
Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah, and I think there's a match winner in there. There's also someone who hasn't played a lot of T20 cricket, right? This is his sixth game, 7th game of the season, 8th game of the season for KKR. Ultimately, it just takes a little bit of time to kind of get into the rhythm of things. But my view is that you don't typically change a winning team, right? I think the makeup is quite clear, but who knows what they'll end up doing. Like KKR have looked like they're much better managed this season. There hasn't seemingly been kind of any kind of like panic stations. I think there was one game where they forgot all of the tactics and all the strategies that they actually agreed upon, and they lost, and then they've reverted back to this intent machine. So I think when it comes to Mitchell Starc, they'll keep with him because you want the confidence in a Mitchell Starc, right? If you want him back bowling kind of 90 miles an hour, the Yorker's kind of flying, and yeah, I don't think you are going to risk that.
I think the other thing to think about is that the money is kind of irrelevant. Like the amount of money he's being paid, like you can't say, oh, he should be doing better because we're paying him loads of money, so drop him. Like you should just look at it on performance and whether you're going to get more mileage out of whoever comes in to replace him. Like try and set the money stuff aside, because I mean the amount they paid is ridiculous, but it's kind of just it's a bit artificially inflated because of what people needed and how the whole thing works. But I would say, yeah, that's probably something to think about.
Cool. Right, we're going to take a quick break, and then we shall come back and talk about the games from yesterday and Friday.
You're listening to the Cricket Podcast.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Cricket Podcast, which is presented in this episode by Series Cricket. If you need some cricket equipment, bat, gloves, helmet, training top, head over to Series Cricket. You can find the link in the show notes and get yourself involved. We highly recommend them. We've had great service from them, and we can give them the Cricket Podcast endorsement. So do that. Max, yesterday in the cricket, the IPL cricket, mad stuff happened. We were at your stag do and we took a time out from the stag do to watch the cricket, which I think most of the people at the stag do didn't really understand.
It was
carnage. It was carnage.
They may not have understood, but I doubt they would have been surprised given watching the three of us huddled over a phone, because it was insane. It was
electric,
absolutely ridiculous. 125 runs in 6 overs to start this Sunrisers innings. Travis Head bottled the fastest 100 ever. That's the only way to put it. Abhishek Sharma was 46 off 12. He bottled the fastest 50 ever. Absolutely disgraceful performances. It looked for all the world that 300 was about to be done. Like they were halfway there in about 7 or 8 overs. It was. It was going to happen. It was going to be the day. But fair play to Kuldeep Yadav, because he bowled a pretty mean spell, having gone for 20 in the first over. In his first over, we should probably also mention that bowling Lalit Yadav for 2 overs in the power play at Sunrisers probably isn't ideal and may have contributed to the 125 run power play score. But nonetheless, Kuldeep came back, took 4 wickets, did really well, and it looked like actually Sunrisers would have to revise their plans of scoring a ridiculous number of runs. But then Shahbaz Ahmed turned up and hit 59 off 29, and they had 266 on the board, and it was that was game over at that point. I think we all thought. Fraser-McGurk threatened 65 off 18, a 16 ball 50 from him. That's pretty impressive. And there was some help from Abhishek Parel, but When they were gone, that was kind of the end of it, wasn't it? Pant just sort of meandered around for 10 overs and 199 was what Delhi got. But I mean, Sunrisers need to be stopped. Like it's
The sun is rising.
painful.
Yeah, it's they've done. This is the third time they've absolutely crushed a team, isn't it? The third time that they've beaten the previous record score in the IPL, set by RCB all those years ago. And Ross, it is starting to feel a bit unfair, basically, isn't it? Abhishek and Travis Head, and then you have to deal with Heinrich Klaassen a little bit later, and now even the guys we were mocking as useless are blasting runs for fun. Are Sunrisers going to win the IPL?
I'm not sure they are going to, but you know, sometimes you just have to destroy a bad team, right? And this is what they did here. Like, this Delhi team isn't very good. I think there's been some encouraging signs by Pant being in the team, but there's ultimately some pretty serious questions to be asked of this bowling lineup. But on the flip side, Travis Head is some player. And I think what's interesting now is that you've got Travis Head batting like he is at the moment. Like, you have to pick him in the Australia team for the World Cup, right? And open it up. But then you've got David Warner, who's there on the Delhi side. And it was kind of looking at the two people who are going to be in the mix, right? But if there's only one spot because they're going to be playing whoever else, it's quite an interesting thing, I think, for that. And the likes of Abhishek Sharma and Shahbaz Ahmed to a certain and Reddy, I think they've done really quite nicely. They've clearly got clear role definition, which we like. They've got a clear playing style, which is kind of being intent and not bashing
everywhere.
Being super aggressive. And they've got the support as well, which I think is fantastic to see. But I think it's time that they drop Markram. That ultimately, I would like to see Glenn Phillips in this team because it'll add an even funner dimension. So that's what I want from it.
Okay. So, a plea to SRH management, to Daniel Vittori from Ross there. He wants Glenn Phillips. I don't really mind Markram. I think he's fine. I think his role is to sort of slightly delay
a little bit of glue.
Heinrich Klaassen comes in. Yeah, it doesn't really matter how many runs he gets because everyone else scores them so quickly and so ferociously that actually it's more of a tactical thing that they're going for there. I mean, like the Lalit Yadav thing, Max. Well, let's touch on that because he got pounded. In theory, that's a good tactic, isn't it? You bowl an off spinner to two left-handed batters, one of whom, Travis Head, has a pretty patchy record against off spin. You have to say. Can you think of any reason why it backfired so spectacularly?
I think it might be because Lalit Yadav isn't that good. And Travis Head and Abhishek Sharma are really good. Yeah, that would be my take. I think
scalpel like that was
the other. Well, I think for me, like you're absolutely right. Like the bowling the off spin and the matchup, it happens all the time. Like, and it makes sense doing it, doesn't it? Like as a sort of an opening gambit for two like left-handers when they've got a perceived weakness. Give it a go. You might nick a wicket. It gives you a bit of more leeway further on. That's fine. But if it's failed once, don't do the second over.
Yeah, I did think that was
probably
slightly mysterious.
Yes,
I would say. The first over goes for 21. They don't even give him a rest and bring him back.
Straight on.
Next over. Not good. 6.4146 leg by 1616 is what happened to Lalit Yadav. Which that's
give the guy a break.
That's really, really pretty painful. Absolute joker. I don't think I've ever really seen anything. I mean, the innings did slow down, and Sunrisers have gone higher than this. But for an opening 6 overs to be on 125 after the power play, that's astonishing. Like
I've never seen anything like it.
It's disgusting. My friend Dom, who you'll know from cricket, he sent me a message. He was watching it, but people at home, they won't know who Dom is. He's a casual watcher of the IPL. And he was like, what's going on? Like, there's a team on 100 off 5 overs. And by the time I'd read the message and had a look at it, they'd hit 5 more boundaries. Like they were on 125. It was a tough one for Delhi, really. And yeah, Ross, as you say, they're just not that good, are they? It's sad.
Yeah, I think what's fantastic around this Sunrisers team is that they are just going for it. I think that you saw it with KKR. I think the intent that we saw there, like these teams are evolving, and I think friend of the show Dan Weston kind of tweeted out saying that this Sunrisers team actually have a bit of identity about them. Like for the last kind of few years, they've kind of just been like a fart in the wind, really, haven't they? They literally just and they've not really done anything of impact other than cause pain and suffering to their fans. And now with Super Pat at the helm, who's had a transformative IPL. Let's be fair, not really a T20. Yeah, not really a T20 great. But here he's doing what he needs to do and has really rallied these troops to get to a really nice position. And now Sunrisers are their fate's in their own hands, right? On this, they're not going to have to worry about other results going their way, etc. Ultimately, like if this team continue playing as they are, they will make the playoffs.
Yeah. I was just looking at the overs, got the overs by over up, and we were laughing at Paul Alec Yadav. Sunrisers, I mean, they obviously we know people won't remember this that well in the future, or maybe even now they don't remember it that well. They did the same thing with Washington Sundar.
I know.
He went for 16 off his first over. They gave him another over. It went 4-4-6, 4-6-6, but 30.
Maybe they thought, look, this is going to be really boring if we don't give them a bit of a head start. Like, let's keep some interest in this game.
Yeah, potentially.
It was like Sunday friendly cricket, wasn't it? Oops, we sent our first 11 player out and he's accidentally bashed 100 and ruined the day for everyone. Maybe let's throw some pies at them and make a game of it so that we have a nice beer after the game. Maybe that was it.
It was.
No, I'll tell you what, though, the person who was dishing that out, or Prithvi Shaw and then Fraser-McGurk. Like Fraser-McGurk is he's brilliant. He is if you were to take a couple of the players who are shown to be like real modern day batsmen who are just coming through, Fraser-McGurk is in there and Abhishek Sharma on the other team. Like they are absolutely box office to watch. So he's doing everything he can to think around, right, how am I going to be retained potentially for next season, right? But at the moment, I'm looking down this Delhi team. The retentions will be really, really interesting. So Fraser-McGurk is putting himself into consideration, I think.
Yeah.
Do we need to update his nickname from Fraser-McGurk to Fraser-McGreat? Is he there yet?
Oh, I don't know. I think we'll have to give it serious consideration.
It probably won't happen, but like Fraser-McGurk and Travis Head opening the batting for Australia in the T20 World Cup. That could be exciting.
Should we try and squeeze one more game in to part 2?
Yep.
Right, on Friday, the Chennai Super Kings, they played Lucknow. Chennai, they got 176, which wasn't that good, but did feature Dhoni going bananas, 28 off 9 for Dhoni. It continues his pretty incredible season in terms of the impact he's having in barely any balls. We also saw a 50 for Jadeja, who for some reason was batting 4. It was okay. It wasn't great. It was okay. We all wanted Lucknow to bring back the fast guy, but that hasn't happened yet. So we're still waiting for Mayank Yadav to.
So they're playing Matt Henry instead.
So we got 3 overs of Matt Henry, which is Matt Henry is a good bowler, but we want the fast guy. Yeah, we want fast guy. 2 overs of Stoinis, 7 runs, good bowling Stoin. In response, the Super Giants, they won really easily. That's what happened. There was a 134 run opening partnership, which lasted exactly 15 overs. Meant that they needed 45 to win off the last 5. Pretty easy to do with 9 wickets. King Legend top scored 82 off 53. And not a lot to write home about on the bowling front. Max, are you sad that Chennai Super Kings have lost? They lose every game away from home, and they win every game at home.
Yeah, it does seem a bit
Are
like
they
that.
are they
doesn't it?
destined for a 7-7 record and missing the playoffs, or can they turn the ship round on their travels?
Well, I was going to say, they have actually played Delhi away, haven't they? And they lost it, so maybe they are in trouble. If you're even losing to Delhi, perhaps you've got some issues. I mean, they've changed things up a bit, haven't they? Rahane's opened the last couple of games. It went a bit better today. I mean, yeah, Ravindra got a golden duck. That's
It happens.
happened with the way that he's approaching opening the batting. But it does. I think it always goes back to you feel comfortable with the side. So I think you think of the way that Punjab are going about things at the moment, and Sam Curran's promoted himself to open. Like they've mixed things up, and you don't really know what your best lineup is, or at least what order you want to do it. And I don't like it's fine, to have plans and hold people back for a reason. Like target certain overs for when you want to send in Shubman Dubey or whatever. But when you start mixing things up, it suggests that maybe you're not quite that settled on, what you want to do, and that suggests, weaknesses, I think, in your side. So I'm a little concerned for CSK just because they've gone down this route of changing things up a bit. Moeen Ali came in and did all right. I think it's always a bit concerning when you quite a poor score, but your 7 and 8 have come in and dished out some sixes, and you're like, oh, we might be a bit under here.
And Daryl Mitchell obviously got dropped for this game.
Yes,
Whether it was,
I mean, I don't have
or
too much
not.
of a problem with that because he's been a bit ponderous, isn't he? In the middle, I haven't really done it. Not really using him with the ball much. So I think that's fine. But I think Chennai just seem to be in a little bit of a sticky patch where they're trying to rework out what they need to do. And if they get over that, I think they'll be fine for the playoffs. But it's definitely one to watch because it's I think it's disappointing. But Lucknow are a decent side, and especially at home. So it's not. I mean, they're challenging for the playoffs, aren't they? So it's not a good one for them to lose, but it's not. It's not a disaster yet.
It was good for the IPL, I thought. Actually.
It's very good for the IPL. Yeah.
It
could have been over too soon.
Yeah, you want that buttercream in the middle of the cake to be as thick as possible. And LSG doing that gave it a nice whip.
Yes.
Yeah, that's it. Anything else from that game that you want to touch upon? It was
King Legend. King Legend.
King Legend. Yes,
he's batting like he should bat. I'm astonished. In the last few games, his intent is up. Lucknow record a really good win here with him kind of steering the ship, to continue the analogy from earlier. Fair play to King Legend. This is what you need to be doing. And spare a thought, lads, for Devdutt Padikkal. He's probably not even allowed on the team bus anymore. So he's not even travelling to games.
he's actually having a good season, King Legend, isn't he? Averaging 40, striking at 143. That would be, his strike rate wise, his best year since 2018 if he continues.
It makes sense, doesn't it? He needs to make sure that he pulls his finger out to ensure he gets to play in the World Cup.
Will he? I mean, I think, will he go? I think that's a good question. We'll find out. Probably not the forum for it here. Should we take a break and then we can come back? We've got one more game, which was actually quite a good game, Mumbai v Punjab, and then we'll do a little preview of the 3 matches coming up next.
You're listening to the Cricket Podcast.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Cricket Podcast for part 3 of our IPL weekend reaction show, which includes bonus games because Max took us on a stag do and we missed our show on Friday. We're going all the way back in time to Thursday last week when Punjab played the Mumbai Indians. Max, take it away.
Yes, Punjab Mumbai. This was another bizarre game and another very Punjab Kingsy game. Mumbai batting first, 192 for 7. Notable contributions. Suryakumar Yadav, 78 from 53. He's continuing his yo-yo performances, so you can expect a duck from him in Mumbai's next game. And Tilak Varma, 34 off 18. Great effort from him. A decent score. I don't think the Mullanpur pitch has been the kind of place where you're going to see teams go and score 250. There's definitely a bit in it for the bowlers. So, it was all right. Definitely a decent target, and it was over within 2 overs. 14 for 4. Punjab done. Game over. Switch off. And then Shashak Singh and Ashutosh Sharma came in and did their thing, and they won. The game was over. They'd done it. They needed 25 off 18, like cakewalk. Just don't do anything stupid. And Ashutosh Sharma did something really stupid, got himself out, and it was left to Harpreet Brar and Harshit Patel and Keita Rabada to try and get Punjab over the line. And they didn't, because they're bowlers. They'd lost the game. They'd won the game. They weren't content with that, so they had to lose it again. Comedy Kings.
Man, Punjab.
So annoying.
Yeah. It was going to happen, wasn't it? I mean, like this game and the one that they played today. If your top 4 includes Sam Curran, or is Sam Curran, Prabhsimran Singh, Riley Russo, Liam Livingston, I'm afraid to say 14 for 4 is on the cards if you're playing a team with Jasprit Bumrah. That's well within the realms of possible outcomes. Like how well do you think that might go if you're Punjab? Like, what's
I reckon you're probably
scenario?
Like your top end might be like 45 for 2 off 6 overs is probably like you'd be happy with that.
I think that would be really impressive if they manage that, to be honest, those 4 guys. Ross, what are you going to say?
Well, they dropped Johnny Bairstow for this game, didn't they? So they gave Riley Russo a kind of the opportunity. So in the 8 games that Punjab have played now, Johnny Bairstow and Riley Russo's combined contribution is 106 runs. That is dreadful.
Tons.
Well, this is well, part of their problem is what you're sort of pointing out there, Ross, and the Bairstow wasn't playing well, making a change. It's perfectly reasonable to drop him and look for someone else. But the guy on the bench is basically just a slightly less good version of Bairstow. Like Riley Russo has all the same problems that Bairstow has. Like, I can be incredible when it works, but gets out all the time for not many runs. Like it's a real feast or famine type player. So if you recognise that having a bunch of feast or famine type players in your top orders is a problem, and you decide to make a change, that change, it would be better for them if they were able to make a change that actually could change things, but it won't.
It's not a tactical change, is it? It's like throwing some more shit at the wall and hoping it sticks.
Exactly, and that's sort of Punjab all over.
They've been a little bit unlucky though with that. Kind of Shikhar Dhawan being injured, that is a problem, right? Shikhar Dhawan is that ballast that they kind of want at the top of the order. So it is a little bit, but as we say, like one injury shouldn't mean you change the whole complexion of your team, right? and that is ultimately what has happened here.
Yeah. They're just a bit disorganised. Poor guys. Mumbai though, Max, are pretty good now, aren't they? They started bad and now they've revved up the engine. If they win their next match, they're back to a 4-4 record. And the playoffs look well and truly on at that point, don't they?
Yeah, they're famed for slow starts, aren't they, Mumbai? And on this occasion, you can kind of understand it because they didn't have Sky, and he's one of the best T20 batters in the world. So when he comes back into your team and makes you better, you are more likely to win games of cricket. But I think they've finally settled on something now that's, in contrast to CSK, who are now starting to change things around, and Punjab have got the problems that we've just spoken about. Mumbai have now sort of focused themselves into something that they're kind of happy with, right? Like they've decided that they've got Nabi in, Romeo Shepherd, and Shreyas Gopal's bowling quite well, and they've got a fairly decent structure and quite a sort of good, got a good lineup and a good plan. And they're now looking like the kind of team we thought they would be before the tournament started, when we were quite keen on them. Coetzee has been really good. Bumrah's back, and he's taking wickets for fun, and no one can score any runs off him.
He's the best player in the tournament.
Yeah,
even with all the nonsense
yeah.
Travis Head's been doing and stuff, I think it's just so good.
Yeah. And Hardik Pandya's back bowling as well, so you've got even more flexibility, which does they've still got to deal with like the Akash Madwal issue, because they've still got sort of one basically set of 3 or 4 overs that they have to use that aren't often going that well. But
I don't love Fraser-McGurk and Romario Shepherd either.
No, bowling Romario Shepherd's not great either. That's not gone so well too. But I think when you've got Jasprit Bumrah, it basically makes up for it. Like if you've got a guy who you think is probably going to go at 12 and over, like par, that's bad. But also, Jasprit Bumrah's on average gone at less than 6 and over this year, and that completely offsets it, and you end up with something that's perfectly fine, right? So I think having someone that good does make up for that to a degree, and the batting is off the charts. Like it's not quite SRH, but there's so much, so much power and ability in there that I think they're looking pretty good. I think they'll make a good charge for the playoffs.
Ross, should we do some previews?
Why not?
Tomorrow.
We have been asked in the chat by Sudeep around what our predictions are going to be for the playoffs. So I think we're at the midpoint stage, right, in the tournament.
Good time. Yeah.
I mean, I think the top 3 in there already. So Rajasthan Royals, KKR, and Sunrisers. Right, that is a fantastic record to be 5 and 6 and 6 and 1. Like that is a strong opener. That is, but these teams can slip down, and that can happen. Do we think that they're going to be able to survive? Are you guys backing those top 3 to be in the playoffs?
Yeah, I think the playoffs as they stand now is how it finishes.
Really. So you think CSK will edge out Lucknow, Gujarat, or Mumbai?
I think Gujarat are actually a bad team that have been really lucky.
I'd have Gujarat as the least likely to make it of the teams in 4 to 7.
Mumbai, they've got a game in hand, but it's against Rajasthan, and that could be tricky for them. So if they win that, then I'm prepared to give them serious consideration. But right now, I think they're probably not favourites to win that match. So they could have a 3 and 5 record, which puts them in a difficult spot with 6 matches to play. And then Lucknow, I kind of like Lucknow, but only if Mayank Yadav is in the team. And if he isn't, I think the bowling is substantially worse. As it would be for any team, if you lose a guy who bowls 98 miles an hour, that's a problem you've got to deal with. So I don't know. I think the top 4 is what I would say. Max, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm a bit worried about Chennai, but the thing with them is like it's the classic thing. You look at the side and you're like, well, I'm not that sold on it, and then you realise that they just seem to win games anyway, regardless. And like if Rachin Ravindra gets back into doing what he was doing at the start of the tournament, they'll probably turn things around pretty quickly. But I don't know. I feel like I would say it's between Chennai and Mumbai. Just on the quality of the sides. I mean, Mumbai have got some catching up to do, but I reckon they'll do it. And between them, I reckon it'll be a net run rate decision between them. So maybe that's where it will go for Chennai, because quite a difference at the moment.
Fair enough.
To overhaul.
Right, 3 games coming up before our next show, which will be on Wednesday. Rajasthan Royals v Mumbai. Ross, do you want to talk us through that one?
Yeah, that is a monumental game for Mumbai, as you just mentioned earlier there, Jack. And I think when it comes to what Rajasthan have been doing this year, they're probably the most complete team in terms of what they've got. They're very, very clear in terms of what their game plan is. They have probably the best bowling unit in the tournament, and their top order is absolutely spectacular. And Joss Buttler has now hit 2 centuries in this tournament. Samson has been excellent, as he typically is, and Jaiswal not quite there, but there's some shoots of positivity, I think, from Jaiswal from the last game. So I think as long as they don't take the piss and open with Kotian again, I think they'll probably be they're going to be nice and competitive. I think that one of the big factors here is how do they get around Bumrah. And I think it's a fair point. but I do worry about Mumbai's bowling. As much as they've probably figured out kind of their team, I do think someone like Kurtzer and kind of the others could be targeted a little bit by what is a really strong Rajasthan Royals batting lineup. So I'm going to back my pink boys and say that it's going to be a Rajasthan victory tomorrow.
Yeah, I think of all the teams in the competition, Rajasthan's batting lineup, I think, is maybe best equipped to deal with Bumrah. Now, I'm not saying they'll score loads of runs off him, but I don't think they're as crap as some of the other teams in the tournament when it comes to like just the fundamentals of batting. And sometimes you need that when you've got when you're up against a really good bowler. It's the people who have the best all-round game that work the best. And Rajasthan, they've got Jaiswal. Struggled with pace a little bit, doesn't he, Jaiswal? But he's not. He's good. I think we can say Jaiswal good. Joss Buttler, again, pretty good player.
He recovers from his exertions last week.
Samson is again. He's a technically capable player, and even Rian Parag and Shimron Hetmeyer. They've got first-class records to speak of. They're decent. They're decent cricketers in the whole when it comes to batting, and I don't see them being blown away like Punjab Kings. I think that they're just better, and that means that the other bowlers are then more targetable because you're not recovering from a collapse. You can just bat, and Romario Shepherd isn't good at bowling. Neither Shreyas Gopal really. It's difficult. It's difficult for Mumbai. Tuesday, Max, we've got Chennai Super Kings v the Lucknow Super Giants. Who's going to win?
Again, that's weird, isn't it? It's like the reverse fixture, but 4 days later. Chennai will get some revenge at home. That's my bet. Because they're at home and they win at home. That's the rules. That's the rules of Chennai.
Well, there we go. Going to offer anything else in terms of analysis? Or just going to tell us who's going to win?
Well, nah.
No?
Chennai going to win because they're at home. That's the analysis. That's all you need.
Yeah. I mean, that is good analysis. If you want the likely winner and why, Chennai, because they're at home, it cuts to the point, isn't it? It's like
the power play is crucial, isn't it? In Chennai, it's all about you need a good fast start because when it gets to the middle, it's quite tricky to score boundaries. And will Lucknow do that? I mean, KL's been pretty aggressive this year, and it's been a bit better, so maybe they will. But I still don't think they've not blown teams away in the power play much this year. So I just think that perhaps won't quite have the tools to take Chennai down.
Yeah, it'd be interesting how they attack kind of Quinton de Kock in that space as well. I wouldn't be surprised if actually you see Moeen Ali being given the new opening the bowling and trying to target him at the start. If they put kind of Deshpande and Chahar, that could be quite dangerous for them, if I'm perfectly honest. And I think they could be flayed all over the place, but I'd be looking to get de Kock out early.
Thanks, Ross. It's a good stag do joke that. Then the last one, Wednesday, we've got Delhi Capitals v the Gujarat Titans. Which we didn't see that today. That was Punjab, the other bad team. I think Gujarat have got to be the favourites for that. Although I think this is two bald men fighting over a comb. That's what this game is. There's not a lot I think really going for either of these sides. Who's going to win, Ross?
So I think this is actually going to be quite a close game. I think as much as Delhi have been quite poor, I think they do present a little bit of a different challenge. But I just think that the Titans have such a good spin bowling attack that they can probably do it. Like Rishabh Pant is good against spin. But actually, if I'm looking at kind of what Prithvi Shaw, David Warner, I think there's some questions, around what they're going to be able to do against this team. So, I think the Titans are going to win this one, but it's going to be close.
Cool. Right, we're going to wrap up there. But before we do, just a reminder that this show was presented by Manscaped. In addition to providing the right tools and solutions for comfortable and easy grooming, Manscaped is committed to raising awareness and giving support for fighters, survivors, and families impacted by testicular cancer. That is why they'll be donating $50,000 to the Testicular Cancer Society. Help save lives and balls by going over to manscaped.com/TCS and sharing their funny and educational check yourself video. It's important to do this so that you don't die or lose your testicles. And while you're at it, grab 20% off plus free shipping with the code CricketPod. Because like a famous American philosopher once said, take care of your chicken, your balls, and your mentals. Okay, that's a good way to end the podcast. We will see you all on Wednesday.